We talk a lot about getting through the storm, but what happens after it passes? When the chaos is over and it's just quiet? That's exactly what we're going to dive into today with the story of Maggie, a character from Claudia Reid's The Life She Chooses. It's an incredible journey about moving past just surviving a toxic relationship and learning how to actually write your own story. So we meet Maggie right here, in the wreckage. That all-consuming wildfire relationship she was in, it's finally over. But what's left behind is this deafening silence. And you can feel it in this image, right? It's a relief, for sure, but it's also kind of cruel. She's free, yeah, but she's also completely lost in that quiet. And this is the central question of her entire story. I mean, think about it. If your whole life has been defined by chaos, by noise, by instability, how on earth do you learn to live in peace? How do you figure out who you are when your old identity was all about surviving somebody else's storm? In her apartment, her whole world, it's a perfect reflection of how she feels inside. It's half empty, haunted by all of these echoes of the past. She's trapped in this weird limbo. She's relieved it's over, but she's also terrified of what comes next. She isn't really living yet. She's just surviving the quiet. Look, we all know healing is rarely something you do completely alone. And for Maggie, that's when someone new steps up, her publisher and friend, Dave. He represents a totally different kind of connection, one that isn't built on chaos, but on something she's never really had, a foundation of safety. And here, you can really see the night and day difference. Her relationship with Reacher was a wildfire. It was consuming, unpredictable, and it forced her to make herself smaller just to get through it. But with Dave, it's steady. It's safe. It's grounding. He doesn't ask her to shrink. He gives her the space she needs to finally expand. And then Dave says this to her, and it redefines everything she thought she knew. Love isn't about being broken. It's not about being fixed by someone else. It's about being held while you heal yourself. And this new feeling of safety, this foundation, it's exactly what gives her the security to start facing the ghosts she's been running from. But that safety, it doesn't mean you get to skip the hard part. True healing means you have to turn around and face the past. For Maggie, this comes in the form of two huge tests. First up, her family. And second, an unexpected message from the very man who broke her. So imagine this. She's at a family dinner, probably already feeling on edge, and her own mother drops this line on her. Oof. It's just dripping with judgment, right? It's designed to make her feel small, to shove her right back into the box she's always been in with her family, the one who never quite measures up. But here's where we see the shift. The old Maggie would have folded, she would have gotten defensive, upset, and been sucked right back into all that drama. But the new Maggie, she stays calm. She realizes, wait a minute, their opinions don't have that power over me anymore. She's just not that person anymore. And then comes test number 2, a text from Reacher, an apology out of the blue. The old Maggie would have seen this as an opening, maybe a chance to finally get the answers she thought she needed. But the new Maggie is different. She responds with this beautiful, calm finality, wishing him peace, and then, and this is the crucial part, she closes the door herself, for good. And this right here, this is probably the biggest takeaway from the whole story. We all chase that apology, right? We think closure is something someone else has to give us. But what this story shows us is that real closure is an inside job. It's about who you become, it's about you reclaiming your power and not needing their validation anymore. So once she's found that internal closure, that's when things really start to take off. She's finally ready to stop writing around her pain and start writing through it. And in doing that, she turns her deeply personal story into a powerful public voice. Now, this doesn't happen overnight, of course. It's a process, and you can see it laid out right here. First, she just has to be brutally honest on the page for herself. Then comes the terrifying step of actually sharing that raw vulnerability with the world. And finally, the world answers back. And she realizes her personal story isn't just a wound, it can be a bridge. And then she gets this. A message from a total stranger, someone who saw themselves in her words. This is it. This is the moment her pain is fully transformed into purpose. Her story isn't just about her anymore. It's for anyone out there who just needs to feel a little less invisible. What's really interesting is how Maggie's journey kind of mirrors the author's in real life. Claudia Reid actually moved away from traditional publishing to platforms like Patreon and Substack. In a way, it's the same journey, right? finding a more direct, more authentic way to share your story and connect with the people who really need to hear it. Okay, so let's bring this all home. Maggie's journey is this incredible, complete transformation. She goes from being someone whose life just sort of happens to her to someone who is actively choosing and authoring her own future. Really, it all boils down to this huge shift from just surviving to truly living. She stops being defined by what happened to her in the past and starts being defined by the choices she makes today. She stops shrinking to fit in and starts expanding into who she was always meant to be. She basically becomes the protagonist of her own life story. And I think this quote just says it all, doesn't it? It's so powerful. She's not trying to glue the broken pieces of her old life back together. No, she's building something entirely new, something that's authentic, and something that finally fits. And that's really where this story leaves us. It pushes us to look at our own lives not as something we just have to get through, but as a story that we actually have the power to write, one choice at a time. So it kind of makes you stop and ask yourself, what story are you choosing to write?